Okay, welcome to episode 5 of Cloudy Vision. We got a very special guest today, and we have lots of hard-hitting topics lined up for today. And let's reveal special guest. What is your name?
Am I a special guest if I've been here the last 3?
Yes. You're still a
Okay.
special guest every time you come on. We have to say that so people get excited at the beginning.
Woo! Hi, I'm Mac.
Yeah, she's Mac. She's an anime expert. She's currently working on her thesis in animeology. What's the specific anime that you're working on for that?
Right now it's Apothecary Diaries.
Mm.
But next up is the Fruits Basket reboot and Chainsaw Man.
Good choices. Honestly, very hard work you got going on over there for yourself. I could never pursue a PhD in anime. But yeah, so we brought you on today, and we are going to have an in-depth discussion about top 5 beginner animes. And I was hoping that with your expertise here today that we could kind of, go over some of the reasons, what makes a good beginner anime and all that. So with that being said, I guess we can just get right into it, I guess. And I could go first, and then you could do one if that sounds good.
I would just like to preface that it's our opinion on what it is. It's not factual of what it is.
True.
What's like the best beginner animes. I just don't want you to get canceled.
Oh, yeah. I want to go first. In my honest and personal and imperfect opinion, I think that Death Note would be my first choice for a good beginner anime. Reasons why I think it's a good beginner anime. 37 episodes, not too long. It's not long like One Piece where it goes on for 1,000 episodes and then you give up after like 10 because it's too long. It's a good length. Another thing about Death Note I think is good for a beginner audience is that I think there is this whole concept between like a curiosity event being created and then after that being followed by exposition, giving an explanation and context to the events that happened before the curiosity event and after. And what I mean by when I see a curiosity event is something like, let's say that there's a scene where director Yagami, he's on the phone and he's talking about how he found out 6 inmates were killed in strange ways. That creates the question to the viewer, what did Light do? Who's the guy who killed them? And why did he kill them in these strange ways? I mean, it's like miscellaneous bad guys, pretty much. So, but yeah, spoiler that Light's a killer. He killed somebody before. And so, yeah, I feel like the combination of creating these things that makes the viewers curious and then having the context given afterwards, that makes for a really engaging story, in my opinion. I think that I was never like sitting there watching Death Note feeling like, oh, this is some filler stuff. I was always like paying attention to it, which is pretty hard for me watching when watching stuff. You've seen Death Note, so what are your thoughts on me saying it's good as a beginner anime?
I think I could agree for the most part. I do think there's a cutoff point, though.
I think I know you're talking about halfway through.
Yes. When things start to change, character-wise, that's where I'm like, I don't know. I definitely think the first half, I would agree, would be is a pretty good start. That second half is the only reason that I'm like,
yeah, I see what you're saying.
guessing it.
It is like a very controversial thing about the show for a lot of people. I think my opinion differs from that because when I first read Death Note, or when I first watched/read Death Note, I read the manga online, and I feel like the manga did a much better job of making that second part something that you care more about. Whereas in like the anime, when you watch it, it's a lot of things are missing context to where like it would make you care as much as it made you care in the first part of Death Note. So, I mean, but it's still a good show in my opinion. I feel like if you are looking for a psychological thriller or mystery, something like that, it's a good show. Also, it's a classic. Most people have seen the show, so there's a lot of people talking about it in a community around it. So that's my first episode I recommend.
First episode?
Our first show, I mean. Sorry, I'm dyslexic and have ADHD. But yeah, what's your first choice for beginner anime?
You know what? I'm gonna go. I'll see your what's the genre for that again?
For Death Note, psychological thriller is what I found.
Okay, I'll take your thriller and I'll give you my own. So one of the I have on here is actually Erase.
Hmm.
So it's a mystery thriller. It's about 12 episodes long. Came out in like 2016, so it's a little bit older, but it follows a manga author who possesses the ability to rewind time to avoid tragedy. But he's framed for a murder in connection with a string of murders from when he was a child. So he manages to get himself to rewind time back to his childhood to kind of figure out how to get rid of everything, essentially, how to fix things and avoid everything happening the way it does down the line. I think it's a good one, not only because it's also another classic. Like, a lot of people have seen it. The opening's everywhere. You know, it's something that people talk about a lot. But I recommend it because nowadays, true crime, fantasy, sci-fi, those are huge elements of social media and what people put out and what people like. I mean, how many Netflix documentaries do we have right now about different serial killers and different
There's so many.
mysteries? Like, I think there's like 4 unsolved mysteries floating around on Netflix right now. It's good. It's an easy enough storyline to follow around. I don't know. I feel like it's an easy way to get the ball rolling and just kind of go into things.
I do have a question because you mentioned that it has time travel elements to it. Usually when I've watched shows that introduce that to certain plots, I find it to be a little confusing at times because it can create paradoxes and stuff like that. So does the show do like a good job of handling that? And does it make it too complicated to follow?
I think the first time you see it, it does get a little confusing because if I'm remembering correctly, it's been a while since I've watched this. If I'm remembering correctly, the very first time it happens, he essentially gets like this feeling that something's going to happen. So he kind of looks around, or like, I'm pretty sure the very first scene, he feels himself jump back in time. Like, he doesn't even realize it's happening until it happens. And he's so used to that happening at this point that now he knows, okay, something just happened that I'm supposed to stop. I need to look around. So they, right off the bat, just establish, like, this is what it's going to look like. And then down the line, I believe he himself goes to try and change things and go back. And I believe he does, in his subconscious, know that he has gone back in time to change things. So they do reference, like, the current time and the previous time. But it doesn't make it confusing at all. Like, I didn't have following along with it. And this was fairly early into me watching any sort of time travel mystery thriller.
Yeah, so sounds like it's probably easy enough to follow.
It should be. I hope so.
I think I vaguely saw the first episode of that, but I have to get to that show at some point. All right, so I've got my next one ready. My next recommendation for good beginner anime would be Spy Family. Spy Family is an anime, it's a manga, it's a movie, it's a way of life. And basically it follows the... it starts off where you follow Lloyd, who is a spy, and he has to create this fake family in order to complete his mission, which is to get close to the father of some guy at a school. He gets a fake wife, he gets a fake kid, and throughout the show, it's like, it starts off where like, okay, this is all fake, they're not actually a family, but they start to actually like care about each other like it is a family, I feel like. So for that, I find it to be like a wholesome anime, a very like feel-good anime. It is like a slice of life sometimes where it's like not too much is happening, but that's also because Spy Family is like not too serious of a show. It's kind of like goofy a little bit. I think also because of the family dynamic of like Lloyd, who's like the spy dad, Yor, who's the assassin mom, and then Anya, who's like the mind reader kid. I feel like there's somebody for anybody to kind of look at and relate to, whether like you're coming from a younger audience or if you're kind of older. So I think it's very easy for people to get into of all ages. Yeah, I don't know. We got done watching the movie and season 2, and I don't know. I just like the show a lot. A lot of good things about it.
I would completely agree. I think Spy Family is like, when I saw you had it on your list, I was like, damn. I want to put that on my list, but I'm like, I don't want to duplicate. But I would agree. I think Spy Family is one of the easiest ones to recommend someone. It's fantastic. It's also got an amazing soundtrack. Like, all the songs that are in there are great.
Yeah.
I do have a bone to pick, though. You forgot Bond.
I didn't want to spoil Bond because it comes up later. I don't want to say what he does. But yeah, Bond's awesome. He's a dog.
You know what?
He has a power.
Here's the thing. Bond gets left out of everything. You can't leave him out of this.
Yeah, true. Bond catches too many strays. We gotta give him some justice.
Get him on a vacation.
Yeah. We need a movie just for Bond. Well, he did have that one episode in season 2. It was like Lloyd and Bond. He saved the puppy.
Spoilers.
So actually, that's serious of a spoiler. He saved the puppy.
To be fair, in the first season, I think he gets like 2 to 3 episodes just introducing him. Does he not?
I think you may be right. It's been a while since I've seen season 1, though.
I'm pretty sure he does, because there's the puppy shopping. Yeah. I can't say much more without spoiling things, but
yeah,
like,
you just gotta watch it to find out.
I think he gets 2 to 3 episodes at least, but then season 2 he gets 1.
Yeah, they need it. Okay, that's my one bone to pick with the show. They need to do Bond more justice.
I think they need to. The only thing I would say is I wish there was more, like, everyone got more like equal-ish time.
Yeah.
About like each of their characters. Like, you always see Anya, and like I feel like you get a lot of Lloyd, but Yor gets like a couple episodes and like some cool moments, but never really like. I feel like there was, what is it, the first half of season 2 is like the most Yor we've ever seen.
Yeah, season 2 definitely goes a lot more into Yor's like backstory and all that.
Well, not even her backstory, just like her
giving her more screen time, I guess.
Yes.
What's your second anime?
Speaking of great soundtracks, I'm gonna throw in one of my favorites here. So, do you want to guess?
Your Lie in April.
It is Your Lie in April. Oh, I love this show so much. So Your Lie in April, it's a romance drama. It's only 22 episodes, so it's pretty quick, pretty short.
Wait, I thought it was a movie.
No.
Oh.
Your Lie in April's a show.
Oh, I've been wrong this whole time.
Your Name is a movie.
True.
Your Lie in April is a show. Are you getting them mixed up?
No. I know they were different. It's just I don't know.
Oh, okay. Your Lie in April, 22 episodes. I started watching it as it was like releasing each week back in 2014, and started reading the manga at the same time because I was like, I need to know what happens. This is the most heartbreaking show I have ever watched. And I will still, like, people will post about it, and I'm like, yes, I love the pain that comes with the show. Like, it's so good. It's like the good kind of heartbreak.
For like
so
emos. For like good cry type of thing.
Yes, like a good cry. So it follows the piano prodigy Kosei Arima, who is having a mental breakdown as following the death of his mother. And now he can't hear his piano when he plays. And the world is all in monochrome. Essentially, there's like, he's severely depressed is like the best way I can put it into words. But with the help of some of his friends and a violinist named Kaori Miyazono, he begins to overcome his mental block, deal with some of the trauma that he's felt in the past, and he begins to play again. And it's a beautiful story. It's got probably one of the best soundtracks. I have pretty much every song from this anime in my playlist. Goose House is amazing with Hikaru Nara. I know, oh god, what is it? It's like Nanaido Symphony is the other one. Seven's got one in there. Oh, amazing songs. But it's just, I would say it's probably a little bit of a slice of life as well. I could be wrong, or at least like a coming of age. It's one of those shows that you watch it the first time and you wish you could go back in time to watch it again and just relive all of it. No matter how you feel about it and the pain and suffering it causes you, you want to go back and watch it again. Like, it's phenomenal. Hands down, I wish I could go back in time and watch this again and experience it all over again.
So, is this more about like somebody overcoming depression, or is it like a romance type thing?
It has some romance elements to it, but it really is, I guess the best way to put it is Kosei is stuck in this mental block and he's not able to get himself out of it. He can't get himself to play the piano. Like, when he does, he literally just can't hear anything. It's just silence. He's just moving his fingers. There's nothing to it. But he meets Kaori, and she's just like this ball of sunshine. She's ready to do anything. She wants to try everything. She is just slowly breaking down these walls for him and getting him out of his comfort zone, getting him out of doing things that he normally wouldn't want to do. He swore he'd never play again. She just needs an accompanist for her violin. That's all it was at first. And now they're friends and they're, making things work and they're doing things. And he's like, I'm happy again. I can play and I'm able to slowly overcome this. And then, more things happen that I don't want to talk about.
Yeah, I'd probably give away some of the plot.
And it would make me so sad.
Yeah, I think I gotta watch that now, but I don't want to cry. How do I watch without crying?
You don't.
Oh, so I guess never watch it then.
Any person, well,
maybe one day.
You should watch. You should try it at least. Anybody who I've ever met that has seen this has said they have cried.
Damn.
Even reading about people watching this or like reading the manga and everything have all said like, no, I've genuinely shed tears for this. Like, almost every person I've ever read has said that. And everyone says it's one of the biggest heartbreaks ever. When TikTok started getting popular and more people were going on to talk about like their different anime experiences on there, I saw a TikTok of a bartender pouring a drink for someone. And their joke was always, oh, like, what are you drinking for? And the guy at the bar was like, oh, this certain scene is happening, or I just finished your line, April. And it's like, oh, let me pour you a double. Like, every time. And it was always like some sort of anime joke that would go along with it, but it hits home. It hits home.
Now you got me interested in it.
Honestly, if you want to watch your line, April, I'm so down.
Maybe not today, but
no,
some other day.
That's okay.
Yeah, I don't feel like crying this close to finals.
If you look at my anime list, okay, I'm very picky. It is one of the only shows on there that has a perfect 10 out of 10, and I will never change that. Other shows I have changed the rating for. I mean, you saw me change your Oran High School Host Club to me. I changed the rating on that. This is one I will never change.
Yeah, okay.
It has always been at the top of my list, and I don't think it'll ever go down, to be 100% honest.
Speaking of animes that almost made me cry, Death Parade.
Oh.
Yeah.
Not where I thought this was going. Oh, no. Yes, I did know that actually.
Yeah, not the other one, but Death Parade. This was a very emotional anime, especially when it got towards the end. This one too also has a great soundtrack. The music really makes it. Yeah. The only downside to this is there's no manga. It's only an anime. I guess that's a good thing though. So like there aren't like two different interpretations. There's only one and it's really good. But yeah, it's basically the premise is where there's a supernatural bar and it's run by this man named Decim. And Decim is a part of like this supernatural organization that decides humans' fates of whether they go to whether if they're reincarnated or if they go to nothingness. And the kind of twist to the story is that there's this other person, I forget her name, but she's a girl and she's a human, but she doesn't have her memory. So the Seam can't properly decide if she should go to heaven or not heaven or hell, but it's nothingness or reincarnated. So what he has happen is she follows Dasim and kind of like interns with him to see what he does, and it follows the stories of many different people there, and it challenges like a lot of the things aren't very morally clear cut. There's a lot of ambiguity. I think in one of the episodes there's like a couple where, you know, he does some bad things to her, but she also does some really bad things to him. And it's like, well, they both kind of suck, but one sucks way more than the other. Do they both deserve to go to nothingness? It's a show that like really brings up these interesting points and premises. When it gets towards the end, it's more revolved around the fate of the girl who Dasim has interning for him, basically, that he can't decide the fate of because he's been trying to decide how he would do it due to her losing her memory. And it's really sad. The last episode, I don't want to say why, but just the scene where she's looking down on Earth to her family, I guess, is so sad with the music too. But yeah, you watched this too. You actually showed me this anime.
I did recommend you to watch this.
Yeah, this is a 10. Like literally, probably in my opinion, the best beginner anime to get started with. It's really good. I was just gonna say it does like some of the same things that Death Note does too, where it has this like thing that makes you curious about something, and then they kind of do some explanations, giving context, and it keeps you like asking questions over and over about what's gonna happen next. I would say Death Note does that sort of thing better, but Death Parade's still very, very good at keeping you interested and stuff like that.
I think Death Parade is a good one to start out with, especially if you're like interested in something that's not super fast paced or super heavy, because they do talk about some pretty heavy subjects. I believe there is, you know, like a stalker in there. There's somebody who commits suicide. There are some very heavy themes, but they don't take it as heavily or face it as heavily as some other shows have. Like, I know Death Note is a little bit more of the I will show you and I will tell you, versus Death Parade kind of is more of like a, you know, let me be the arbiter of whether or not what you're doing is essentially morally justified. And then from there, are we going to go into reincarnation, or are we going to purgatory?
Yeah, it's definitely different than Death Note, but the premise is still really good. So that's
I also like that it's playing games to essentially get people's like deep, dirty, dark secrets out. Like, I like that that's the way they did it. Like the one couple that ended up down there, that it was, okay, you're playing darts. Like, and these darts are, I think it's the very first episode, so I think it's fine to say, but like these darts, when you hit the board, they hit an organ. And the more you talk and the more panicked you get, the more you're more likely to spill. And it just continues to go and go and go until you just, everything's out in the open. And now it's okay, I have an easier chance of deciding where you're going now.
Yeah. And another thing I wanted to mention too is that Dasim is not the only arbiter in the show. There's another one, and it's implied that there's others as well. So I feel like
there's quite a few.
Well, like arbiters that we see, like choosing people's fates and stuff.
We see like 3 other ones.
I forget the third one then.
There's the girl with the long ponytail. There's the guy who
the redhead guy.
And then there's the big boss guy that comes later on, that the girl with the long ponytail talks to. I
might need a refresher on that because I don't remember them. But yeah, I I was gonna say, like, I wish they kind of did more for the show, like maybe some spin-offs or maybe continued the series even. I felt like it was really good. I don't know why they stopped making it.
I do think it is kind of a standalone. Like you don't necessarily like you want a second season.
Yeah, but it
You
doesn't
don't
need it.
need a second season.
Yeah.
Versus like a Death Note where the first half of the show could have technically been the first season and you would need a second season, but since they added that second half in, you don't necessarily need a second season because it's all just in that first one. You just cut it in half.
Yeah. Well, you got your next one?
I do. So this one is a little different from some of the other ones that I've recommended so far. It is newer. It's probably, actually, it is the newest one on all of my list. So I recently started watching the Apothecary Diaries, which was created in 2023, but didn't release for, I mean, I didn't see it releasing until March of 2024-ish, April of 2024, something along those lines. It's a historical mystery drama, and it follows, it's about 24 episodes, I would say. I'm like 18 in right now, I think I'm on episode 18. I'm not even done with this, but I'm still recommending it. It's been great so far. So basically, Mao Mao is living, it's roughly about 15th century China. So she's living with her father, who's an apothecary, and he's trained her in, you know, learning different medicinal herbs and learning different ways to spot poison and things like that, because of his profession. So she is on her way to, I believe, drop something off at her grandmother's brothel or pick something up from that area, something along those lines, when she's kidnapped and sold to be a servant in the emperor's palace. Essentially just go bring the consorts their clothes and wash them in the morning. Pretty easy stuff. But now they start to realize that she has, you know, the ability to read and she can write and she knows all these things that an apothecary typically would know. So they take her and she kind of uses that knowledge to service different people in the palace, not only treating them of like different ailments, and she becomes a food tester for one of the emperor's concubines. So she tests, like she eats the food before the concubine can to test for poison. And, you know, she also kind of gets in with, I don't know how to describe what he is, but this man who is trying to figure out like what's different things that are happening behind the scenes. So at one point there's somebody sleepwalking and they're on top of the wall and they're trying to figure out how she's getting up there at night. There's what seems to be either a murder or a suicide. So they're trying to figure out things like that. So she's solving different mysteries and conspiracy theories, and she's kind of helping to figure this out. I didn't mention that it's a comedy, but it is also pretty funny, to be honest with you. It's pretty good. It's very fun. It's very entertaining. It's a very easy to watch thing. Like, it's not heavy. Like, yes, there are elements of, like, they talk about suicide, they talk about people getting poisoned, they talk about murder, but, like, it's done in a very lighthearted, easygoing way where you're not worried about, like, there's no need for, like, a trigger warning on this. Like, it's pretty easy, natural, go with the flow, easy to follow. There's nothing crazy going on. I've kind of looked on, because I was kind of hesitant to put this in here. So I did look online to see, like, what other people have said and whether or not they would recommend this. And they've said it's a very nice, refreshing kind of drama comedy with a mix of that historical drama. And the exact words of somebody were, it's kind of like Grey's Anatomy in the style of a slice of life anime set in 15th century China. And I was like, you know what? I would agree with that. Grey's Anatomy, good little response to this. I kind of like the idea of it. But it's been nice so far. I very much enjoyed it. I'm going to continue to watch it because I really like it, and I'm hoping it continues to be good, and I'm hoping there's more than one season, if it ends up, you know, continuing to be this great throughout the whole thing.
I do have a question about that. What's an apothecary?
Oh gosh, let me look it up so I don't butcher it.
Okay. But yeah, that sounds a lot, this whole like slice of life type of vibe or like feel good vibe, that kind of reminds me of Spy Family, even though there's like you know, some kind of like topics that are more, you know, a little serious. It's for the most part probably like just like easy to watch and stuff like that, like good vibes.
Honestly, it really is. Like, I've been trying to watch at least one episode of it pretty much every day for the last couple. Like, I don't have much time to watch things. I'm very busy. But I've at least tried to make time every day to watch it. And I'm 18 episodes in, so it's pretty easy to, you know, pick up, put down, pick up, put down. Like, it's a good one to follow along with. To answer your question about what an apothecary is, an apothecary is a person who prepared and sold medicines and drugs. So typically they would grow certain medicinal herbs and make them into tea or a paste or a cream or whatever it might be to be used in medicinal purposes. But they would also be called in for, you know, it is a archaic English term, so it's a little bit older. But they could also be called in for, like, I believe they could be called in for like an autopsy, to check in on things, to consult with people whether or not things were poisoned or prepared in certain ways that they would negatively affect others. The first time that they realize that she has this ability is the emperor's son, with one of his concubines, is sick, and so is the mother, and it looks like they're going downhill towards they're not going to make it. And she's the first person to realize why and what's going on and how to fix that. And another one of the concubines, her and her daughter, are also sick. And the one with the daughter actually listens and follows along with the instructions she gives her, and they both make a full recovery. However, the other one kind of writes it off and doesn't listen to her and just doesn't care, continues doing what she was doing, and as a result, her son passes away from this, which is like a huge deal, especially because it's the first male heir that this emperor has, which is like a huge thing back in that time to have
heir to the
monarch.
throne.
Like, yes, thank you. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah, I never heard of. I know you've been watching that, but I never heard about it until just now about what it was. Sounds like it's got a unique premise.
I don't think I've told you anything about this up until this moment.
Oh yeah, I think I saw your list. Maybe that's all I knew. But I'll go into my next recommendation, number 4, Spirited Away. Spirited Away. It's a full like anime film. It's made by Studio Ghibli. It's a isekai fantasy adventure. It basically, what happens is there's this girl. She's like 10 years old, and she's in the car with her mom and dad, and they stop in this weird, in the middle of nowhere type place, through like this stone they go past, and they start eating some food, and the food turns them into pigs. And then the girl doesn't eat the food, so she just sees their moms turned into pigs, and then she gets kind of in this alternate universe with a bathhouse and strange spirits everywhere, and her goal is to try and find where her parents went to, and she's trying to save her parents from being pigs or whatever. And a few things I want to say about this. One, the animation, the art, the detail, it's all probably, it's a 10 out of 10 for me. It's so good. There's I don't know if this is 100% true, but I think that every single frame was drawn, as opposed to where, like, with anime, sometimes they'll kind of do keyframes to move certain objects. This was all hand drawn, I'm pretty sure. I don't know. I watched this when I was a kid. It was the first anime I ever seen without even knowing what anime was. And it introduced me to the genre. I started watching other Studio Ghiblis when I was a kid. Like, you're not gonna like this one, but Kiki's Adventure and
Kiki's Delivery Service.
Yeah, Kiki's Delivery Service, and what was the other one? Princess
Mononoke.
Yeah, Princess Mononoke. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was it. But yeah, it introduced me to the whole anime genre and stuff like that. And, the film itself kind of was a moment in time when it came out, to where a lot of people had the impression that like animations and stuff like that were only for children, and that there was really no value to it outside of that, and that it was always going to be that. But this show itself has a lot of themes. It's really good, and it's just, I don't know, it's good. I like it a lot. So
I did do some fact checking for you. So it says that there are different things that make Spirited Away different from typical anime aside from that attention to detail. First is simply that the unique art style from this director is known for. He also does mostly hand-drawn in this movie, which differentiates from a lot of modern anime. He specifically resists techniques developed by low-budget anime that became iconic to the genre, because most of those techniques were intended as ways to cut costs. So he would hand draw them with pencil and paper, scan them, and then make them digital from there.
that's crazy, because it's 2 hours long, so it's like so much drawing.
It's crazy to me. I can see how that would be a good one. I had toyed at the thought of making Howl's Moving Castle part of my list, but I was like, I don't know. I haven't decided. I think it's also a good classic that, like, I mean, when I went to go see the Spy Family movie, even just Sunday, there's already posters about Studio Ghibli. Which one is it?
Either is fine.
Okay, well, I don't want to get canceled.
Studio G.
I'm not calling it Studio G. But I mean, there's already posters up and like little cutouts of Totoro, just acknowledging like, hey, it's Ghibli week. Like, we're gonna showcase, this weekend it's Castle in the Sky. This weekend it's Spirited Away. Next weekend it's The Cat Returns. Like, Studio Ghibli in general would probably be one of the easier ones to do because they showcase them so often, even in theaters, like all over the place.
Like, you could probably find a theater that's showing a Ghibli film and go watch it. Although there are some Ghibli films I wouldn't necessarily recommend, but I wasn't a huge fan of that one. But yeah, I'm sure this recommendation doesn't come as any surprise to some people who've been watching my channel for a while, because I did the whole like Animal Crossing village that was in Spirited Away. I made the whole island in Spirited Away. And yeah, I'm pretty sure on live streams I've talked about it a bunch.
Yes, you have.
Yeah. Speaking of Spirited Away, I finished building that bathhouse that you got me for my birthday, and it's awesome.
I was wondering if you were gonna mention that with your Spirited Away.
Yeah, it looks sick. It's like this Lego set type thing, but it's got 5 floors where each one's like kind of different parts from the movie, and it's awesome. So yeah. I
don't know how I managed to find that, let me tell you.
I've never seen that before in my life. So when I got that, I was like, what is this?
That's why I was like, I can't say anything.
Yeah.
Here's where I'm a little controversial, okay?
Uh-oh.
I'm not the biggest Studio Ghibli fan. I will be
Canceled.
the first to, like, look, I gave Spirited Away, what, a 7? A 7 out of 10 when I watched it. Castle in the Sky was like a 3.
I gave that a 3 too, though.
Kiki's Delivery Service was like a 4.
Okay, now that's just over dramatic, giving that a 4.
Come on. Come on now. I'll tell you exactly what I put. I can look it up. I keep my anime list updated for a reason.
I can't be bothered to keep up with that. It's just so much work.
Well, when you've seen as many as I have, you gotta keep them all in one place at some point. Oh, sorry, I gave Kiki's a 5.
See, it's not
Ponyo,
that bad.
To me,
Ponyo's good. I like Ponyo.
Ponyo was a 7. Grave of Fireflies was an 8. So like, yeah, they're good, but they're not my favorites. However, there is one director that I will stand by pretty much anything he has ever made.
Can I guess?
It's not hard to guess if you know me well enough.
Shinkai?
My boy, Makoto Shinkai. Specifically the one, I mean, any of his I think are amazing. Though there are some that I'm like, would I recommend Suzume as your first? Probably not. It's a little hard to follow if you don't kind of understand how his brain works, and 5 centimeters per second is 3 different stories put into one long movie. Like, it cuts in and out, and there's different characters, and they don't necessarily explain who all of them are right off the bat. Garden of Words, I mean, I made you watch Garden of Words, and it's a little weird if you...
Yeah.
It's a little weird it makes you question, is this movie about a foot fetish? Like, I'll be real with you.
Literally, that's what I was asking when I was watching it.
Technically, no, but you know, you never know. Anyway, we're not here to king shame. But
I am.
Your Name. What?
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 I didn't say anything.
Did you say you're here to king shame?
No.
Okay, that's what I thought I heard, but okay.
It must have been the wind or something.
Well, yeah, it must have been the wind in my closed bedroom with all the doors and windows closed. Yeah, definitely.
You got a
Definitely.
crazy draft in there or something, bro. Might want to get that checked.
Oh, probably. But the one I will recommend, top of my list, one of my all-time favorites, is Your Name.
That's
one of the best movies I've ever seen.
Here, I'll let you go. Continue.
Okay. I was gonna say, don't fight me on my movie yet. I haven't gone on my tangent. It's a fantasy romance from 2017. It's about 2 hours long. It's like an hour and 52 minutes. It follows along these two teenagers who share a profound and magical connection when they wake up and they find out that they've swapped bodies. And so things manage to get even more complicated when they decide to try and meet in person. I don't know if you have ever seen any of Shinkai's films, but oh my god, those visuals. There are people that will compare side by side a picture of a scene from 5 centimeters per second or Children Who Chase Lost Voices or Garden of Words to the actual setting of what it is, and it is near identical in how it looks down to like certain details in the metal, the wood, the grass, whatever it is. Like, it is nearly like night and day, like perfectly matched up. I don't know why I said night and day. Those are two different things. But they're like perfectly matched up in how it looks, how it's portrayed and everything. They're absolutely beautiful. The stories are always easy to follow along with most of his, movies. I think he's had one show and it's like The Girl and Her Cat or something along those lines. And Rad Wimps has worked with him on Your Name, on Weathering with You, and I believe they worked with Suzume, and they've always come out with these beautiful soundtracks. The storylines are beautiful. I literally have the 5 centimeters per second book over on my shelf right now. Like, they are amazing in every single way. I will never not defend these movies, and I know that Shinkai is like, please stop watching this movie. This is not my best work. This is not something that I want the world to know me as. Like, I would much rather it be for something else. But it is something that's made its way onto mainstream media to the point where when I went to the premiere of Suzume when it came out near me, I overheard a couple of girls say, I watched Your Name because I had heard so much hype about it that I want to see his next movie because I loved this one. And yeah, they left Suzume being like, Your Name was much better, but it's people who wouldn't, and these are girls that would not normally watch anime. Like, these are people that normally this isn't their cup of tea. This is not something, yes. The stereotypical high school girl. That's essentially what was there. They were like, well, I loved Your Name. I didn't really understand this one. This isn't my cup of tea, but I would go watch Your Name again. Hands down. Give me a show like Your Name. Give me something like this. That is what I want. And I loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Now, I do have a bone to pick with Your Name.
Okay.
I will agree that the animation is incredible for Your Name. Shinkai always has really good visuals. It's very distinct from other animes. I will say that the plot, I found it to be, for somebody watching Shinkai for the first time, and for Your Name, I think, being one of my first Shinkai films, I did find the plot to be a bit hard to follow at first. But I would say Your Name especially is probably still worth watching if it's like you're gonna get your first Shinkai film and watch that. I would recommend, Your Name, or Weathering with You was pretty good too.
I would argue that Weathering with You was more confusing than Your Name. To be 100% honest, I'm trying to figure out what in Your Name would be confusing plotline wise.
It was the whole Your Name was the one with the lake, right?
Yes.
So yeah, it was the whole like writing on their hands. Why are they doing that? What's going on? I don't know. It was a while since I watched it too, so I could be wrong.
He wasn't paying attention. That's what I'm hearing.
That's probably actually that might be it actually.
they write on their hands to communicate with each other because they didn't keep a notebook at the time.
Oh.
So they would like write on their hand being like, who is this? And leave it overnight. And then the other person would respond, I'm so-and-so.
Yeah. Well, I guess I wasn't paying attention. Ignore what I just said, everyone.
I mean, you did mention earlier that your attention span sometimes doesn't kick. So it makes sense. And this is not typically your genre to watch. So I understand. I don't fault you for that. If you notice, most of mine have romance aspects to them. Like, that's just what my preference is, and that's not everybody's preference, and I'm always open to admitting that.
I think we share some similarities between our, animes we like and stuff, but then we also have, like, that section where definitely stuff only I would like and stuff you would only like. Because I think for you, most of the romance stuff is stuff I wouldn't really be too into,
Yeah, no. I mean... we've watched things that one person likes a lot that the other person really doesn't. Like we watched JoJo's. Yeah.
I mean,
really
you
like
did.
JoJo's. It's not my cup of tea. Like I will watch it, but it's just not like I'm not gonna be like, oh, new JoJo season, let's go watch it. Like it's not my thing.
You haven't seen part 6, that's why.
Yep.
Bro, we sat down and watched parts 1 through 5 in like a few weeks.
In like a month, yeah.
It was insane. I did not think we would get past season 1, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
But
Neither did I.
Okay, I'll go on to my last recommendation, which is a manga. It's not an anime, but it's a manga. It does have an anime, but I don't recommend watching the anime. It's...
Oh, no, I agree, actually.
Junji... Okay, well, my recommendation is the author, Junji Ito. He does short horror stories. There is like a thing on Netflix. It doesn't adapt any of his stories very well. I don't recommend watching that. I do recommend reading any of his works, specifically Shiver, which is a collection of short stories. And if you're looking for something a bit longer, like a more cohesive, longer story, I'd recommend Uzumaki. I've talked about Junji Ito before on this channel, I think on the podcast too, but I find that with him, the plots are always pretty simple. And they're very easy to follow, and you can kind of know what to expect when you're reading a Junji Ito story after a while. I think in the book Shiver, there's this one short story called Hanging Balloons, and it kind of follows the story of this character who, everything's normal one day until balloons that are like the faces of people start appearing, and they start trying to kidnap people to hang them. It's a really, really like scary type of premise because she stays in her house the whole time trying to not get caught. And there is a lot of like dread, I feel like, in his mangas. I would say his art style, like most of the time, it's like not anything too crazy. But when you get to the scenes where it's like meant to show some type of like body horror, that's when he goes all out and makes something really cool. Some of which can be like extremely gross, some of which can be extremely like, what even is that? Yeah, Junji Ito overall I'd recommend. He has Shiver, probably the easiest thing for people to get into because it's just like a bunch of short stories, or Uzumaki. Also, they're making a anime of Uzumaki, like a full film of it, but it's been taking like years, so I hope it's good.
Yeah, I think we watched the Uzumaki trailer.
Yeah, we did.
In the last one, because it was 9 months ago, and we did that 8 months ago, so that sounds about right.
Yeah. Sorry about the lack of podcasts. I've been busy doing nothing.
You've been at school.
Oh yeah, that too.
I can understand you wanting to recommend Ito. I personally was very confused, especially by the hanging balloons. That was one of the ones that I was.
You know what it sounds like to me?
By.
It sounds like somebody didn't pay attention.
No, I did.
Yeah, you're
and
right.
I was really struggling. I tried. I really did. I read quite a few.
It's horror, bro. It's not supposed to make sense. It's just supposed to be scary.
I would say Uzumaki made more sense than that one, personally.
Yeah, well, Uzumaki has got like more more like length to it. So
Even the ice cream one, I understood a little bit more.
which one's the ice cream one?
The one with the ice cream truck.
I don't remember that one, but yeah, I don't know. Junji Ito's.
Is that
No,
not
I might have forgotten it because there's just so many short stories, like you forget some of them sometimes. You know, another
It's called the ice cream bus. He offers free ice cream to the kids in the neighborhood.
I think another thing I remember watching this interview with Junji Ito one time. He said he tries to take like very normal things like a spiral and try to like make it into something to where like you'll be scared of a spiral. So he like tries to make fear out of things that normally you wouldn't be fearful of. I'm looking at the ice cream. I don't think I've read this one.
You looked up the ice cream one.
Yeah, I don't think I've read this.
I don't know what it was in. I found it somehow. I don't know where it came from, but I've either read it or seen it or something.
Well, what's your last recommendation?
Okay, so this is the second manga I have ever read. My first one was Your Lie in April. Then it was this one. It's called Orange, by Ichigo Takano, I believe. I could have butchered that. I'm so sorry if I butchered that. It's a sci-fi slice of life, with a little bit of like an aspect of romance. It's so sad. So sad. It's got 7 volumes. And it follows the story of Naho. At the beginning of 11th grade, she receives a letter from herself 10 years in the future. At first, she writes it off as a prank. She's like, oh, yeah, no, there's no way this is happening. But then, one by one, each of the letter's predictions start to come true. And she kind of realizes that the letter might actually be from herself in the future. And her future self tells her that the new transfer student, whose name is Kakuru, will be joining their class. And in this letter, it essentially begs Naho to watch over him, saying that she is the only one who can save him from this terrible future that's coming up. And I read this just being like, oh, it's going to be super cute and sweet and just like this nice little story. It is very heavy and very, like, it is very like light in nature, but there are very dark themes to it, as like with how I can't talk, in depression, suicide, loss, grief, just figuring out ways to cope and to go through different things. It's one of my favorite mangas, and the anime had a really good adaptation of it. And like, yes, there were some aspects that I wish were touched on more that were in the manga, which is why I don't recommend the anime specifically for beginners. But, I really recommend it because it does go over a lot of the struggles of like coping with depression, seeing your friends go through depression and struggling to figure out how to support them. If you've ever struggled with depression and insecurity, or seeing somebody just struggle with these things, a lot of the scenes in this manga are gonna like hit pretty hard, but there are also these like really heartwarming scenes, seeing the friends doing their best to help each other out, sacrificing their own needs for the sake of others. And it just has like overall this, like it does show a little bit of like the side of like signs of what to expect from somebody who might be struggling in silence, and finding ways to help them through that, even if it is yourself 10 years in the future being like, hey, look out for this. Like, this is something that I didn't notice at the time that I really want you to focus on and see for yourself that, this is what's happening. And it's so dark, but it's so beautiful and it's so well written. And I cried multiple times reading this. Like, this is another one where it's like the good kind of cry. Like, you read this and it's like, okay, I'm building up, and now I just need to let it out, and it's all here, and it's just so beautiful and well put together, and you can get it in one pretty little package. You don't have to buy 7 different books to get this thing. Like, they sell it in one big thing at Barnes & Noble, and it's all 7 volumes in one big thing, and it's just beautiful. I love talking about Orange. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah, while you were saying that, I was showing off my collection of Orange that I haven't read.
I heard there's a sequel that not recently, it came out in like 2022 2022, I believe.
Future?
What?
Future? I don't know. I have like 3 of them. One of them says Future. Orange Future.
It might be. I can't remember. I don't remember if I've read Future, to be honest with you.
Wow, big fan.
When I had this, it wasn't 2022. So I would have gotten it before Future comes out, because Future is told from a different perspective. It's not Naho's perspective as like the rest of Orange's. Future is actually in Hiroto Suwa. It's in his perspective, and he's kind of just the cheerful third wheel in most of this. So it's kind of like reuniting in college. Like, they've been scarred through their experiences in high school, and like, they say time heals all wounds, but sometimes it doesn't, and it kind of touches on that a little bit from what I understand. And I really don't remember if I've fully read this, but now I feel like I should go in and find out, because I'm gonna be so sad if I haven't, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think we were at the Barnes and Nobles one time. I was like, "Yo, give me a manga recommendation to read," and you're like, "Orange." I'm like, "Bet," and I still haven't gone to it, and that was 6 months ago.
Will never hesitate to recommend Orange to somebody.
One day I'll read it.
One day. I think I started reading it. I think I read it all on a manga app, which is why I don't remember if I've actually read Future. After reading Orange, like, I looked into more of this manga artist's mangas, and I ended up reading a little bit of Dreamin' Sun, which is one that was coming out month to month at the time. Like, we were getting more frequent updates on that one. So like, I don't know, I really like this author, and the way everything went, I just really enjoyed I really enjoyed Orange a lot. I'm gonna be real about that.
So I think one thing, I kind of just thought of this like within the past few minutes, but I was gonna say, like, the reason why we came up with this idea to come up with beginner animes is because we saw that online a lot of people were saying things that, like, One Piece was a good beginner anime, and what else was there? It was like Naruto and like all these super long animes, and I did not agree with that at all. I feel like some of the animes that we saw like being recommended as beginner ones were just way too long, way too complicated. Like, look, I'm a fan of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, but I wouldn't recommend that as somebody's first anime. Like, it's
One Piece.
Yeah, One Piece isn't a good one either. I've watched 5 episodes of that though, so take what I say about that with a grain of salt, I guess.
I mean, it's like almost 2,000 episodes, and they're still making more. Like, that's just dedicating your entire life to catching up to something that you may never catch up to.
Yeah, and they do have this thing called One Pace where it cuts out all the filler content, but even then, it's still so long.
There's also some that I'm like, I would consider recommending them. Like, I saw a lot of people recommend Sailor Moon, but like, I even teetered on doing that, but there are so many filler episodes that I'm almost like, do you recommend the reboot that cuts all those filler episodes out, like a Sailor Moon Crystal? Like, that's what introduced me to Sailor Moon. I didn't watch the original Sailor Moon. Like, controversial topic, I'm going to be honest with you. I also don't enjoy all the filler episodes sometimes where there's literally nothing going on. Like, I like that it just keeps going and there's something going on all the time. And a lot of these super long ones they recommend just don't necessarily always have that.
And I think, I don't remember if this is true or not, but I'm pretty sure on YouTube, if you search for Death Note, Viz Media actually has the entire series on there for free if you want to watch that. You don't need any subscription, I don't think. But I think that's how we watched it, right? It's free on YouTube. I'm looking at it now. It looks like it's still free.
I think we might have. I think that sounds about right.
Yeah, well, at the very least, a lot of the things we recommended were things you could probably find anywhere, like Netflix or Crunchyroll. Most of these are
Crunchyroll. Your Spirited Away would actually be on HBO Max.
Oh, I know it's on YouTube too, but you have to like pay to rent it or whatever.
HBO Max, if you have a subscription, you don't have to pay for it.
Yeah.
I don't think we recommended anything that you couldn't find.
I was also thinking too of like, hey, maybe I'll recommend Berserk because that's one of my favorite series. But it's just like, it's a very long series also. And it's also like a very dark series that I'm not sure most people would want to read. I was also considering Vinland Saga too, but I know you don't like that series, so I'm like, maybe other people won't like it either because there are like some issues with it, but I am like a huge fan of it.
Look, not everything's my cup of tea. I usually don't, and which is funny to say because I recommend Apothecary Diaries, but I'm not a huge fan of like most historical pieces that come out. Like there are some things that I really enjoy. Like I really do enjoy, Apothecary Diaries in the sense that of like what that is. But like Finland Saga, Vikings aren't my thing.
Fair enough.
I don't know, but and that's why I'm not a huge fan of it. And I know like JoJo's, I said like it's not one of my favorites, but that's just
But it is a very long series, and the first part of JoJo's is kind of weak compared to
so
everything else.
slow.
Yeah.
It's so confusing. It's so slow. I still don't understand what happened in the first half of the season.
Yeah, but my main reasoning for not recommending JoJo is because it's so long. I think it's almost as long as One Piece, if I'm being honest. Maybe a
No,
bit
it's
shorter.
not.
It's not?
No, it's
Oh.
definitely not. No. Do you know how many episodes are in One Piece?
I mean, I don't know. It was like 1,000, I think.
And then JoJo's has about 152-ish.
Oh, yeah. JoJo's is not even close then.
No. No, not at all. I would say maybe like a Pokemon might be a little bit closer, or like a Dragon Ball Z or a Bleach maybe, but not nearly as close.
Bleach is like 350 episodes. I think Pokemon might be as long as One Piece.
You've watched all of Bleach?
Yeah, back in high school.
Insane. Oh, are there more episodes of Pokemon? This says there's 1,269.
I wouldn't be surprised. Pokemon's reached that point where they just have the same formula, but they remake it. But yeah, I think we should do our last topic we have and talk about the Spy Family movie. So spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen Spy Family season 1, or 2, even though it doesn't really spoil too much, but still just warning for everyone. We went to go see it separately because I'm down here and you're in Chicago. And we wanted to give our hard-hitting opinions on the movie. I gave it an 8 out of 10. Maybe, I think it was 8.5 out of 10, but I really enjoyed it. It was just a movie where I went in there, I felt good watching it. It was like good vibes. The story was interesting throughout the whole thing. And I don't know, like it wasn't like a crazy plot or anything like that. It was just like a chill and feel good type of movie. The whole premise basically is that Lloyd is told that Operation Strix is at risk because of higher ups, so he has to go and like make progress on the whole operation, I think. So in order to do this, Anya has this cooking competition where she can get a Stella star, and they go to like try and figure out what the food reviewer likes, and they go travel, and this whole stuff happens. It's crazy. Yeah.
They're going up to another city to try this dessert that her principal really likes because he's supposed to be the judge, so that she can make it.
Yeah.
And then she ends up accidentally taking some crucial information that both the East and the West are trying to get a hold of that could very well start the war that's kind of been on the edge the whole series.
And it was left inside of a little chocolate. I don't know why they chose that, but perfect for
that's the most inconspicuous place.
Yeah, but it was like in this whole like fancy box and everything. It was just like waiting to be stolen. It felt like.
Yeah, but it was in a box in a suitcase.
True.
With a lock with a key. Like there's a whole like there.
But how did that? Okay. How did that dude just like leave the key in the bathroom and forget about it? I feel like this whole movie should just be blamed on him for making that mistake.
I was about to spoil something, but I don't think I want to, just in case.
Yeah.
Well, it depends where he was near the end of the movie.
Yeah.
We'll leave it with that.
I think the movie's still as of the time we're recording this.
Mhm.
I give it 8 out of 10. I recommend it. What did you give it?
I believe I gave it a 9. I really liked it.
Yeah.
Such a good soundtrack. I'm a sucker for a good soundtrack. I'll be real with you.
Same.
Like the whole ride there, I was listening to the first opening, Mixed Nuts. So good.
I was
And then I
listening to
have
that too
others.
after. Dude, after the movie, I was like going home in my car and I was like Spy Family soundtrack and I just played it all the way on my way home.
It's been stuck in my head for like 3 days.
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna deny that. It's been in my head a lot lately. But no, I thought it was really good. I like that it was a really good way to showcase everybody aside from Bond, which kind of sucked.
Yeah.
But it did showcase everyone a lot. And went over all of their stories in one thing. So you get Lloyd's side as, this spy. You get yours, she gets her kind of assassiny moments. She gets some really cool scenes in this
Yeah,
movie.
she does.
Genuine, they're very cool. And Anya's kind of just Anya in the mix of it, and it's
Trying
a
not
blessing
to
and
die.
a curse. Oh, it's a blessing and a curse to be able to read minds, and it really shows in this movie a lot just how dangerous it can be for her to have this, and to like, I have one qualm with this movie.
And what's that?
How did nobody figure out anybody's identities in this? Like,
They're just
like they literally. Okay, I'm gonna say a spoiler because at this point I kind of have to like explain my side of this. So spoiler alert, alarm, whatever. They're on a burning blimp. Anya manages to give a sign where she is because she reads Lloyd's thoughts. She knows where he is. Lloyd knows that's Anya giving me a sign, which, like, okay, sure, I understand, whatever. But then she doesn't question it because she knows he's a spy. But he doesn't question how she knew he was in the room because she wasn't making noise until he was like, I gotta figure out where she is. And then meanwhile, is there. He literally says, how did you get on this blimp? I left you down when I flew off in the plane. She's like, oh, I snuck on. And he doesn't question it. He doesn't question how she got through this burning blimp, this random woman that he's married to that he barely knows anything about. And she's like, yeah, he just crashed into here. And, and no, this blimp is definitely not for military personnel, even though every single person on this blimp has a military uniform on. Nobody questions anything. They're all just like, yeah, we're just normal people. No. That's my qualm with this movie. That's why it's not a 10.
Yeah, well, it's still good.
They definitely should have. I feel like they should have gone over, hey, this is kind of weird. But they don't. They don't question it at all.
Nothing.
I get it. Their cover's going to be blown, but like, still.
Yeah, I'm just gonna equate that to like plot armor / them being too oblivious because they're all in love or whatever.
That's the only thing that really like got me was they definitely shouldn't have just been like, ha ha ha, wonder how you got on the plane, like on this burning blimp. Like that's literally how they reacted
but
to it.
Also there was a really epic scene that resulted out of that where they all worked together to turn the blimp, and it was so cool. And I feel like that makes up for it.
It definitely does. Like, I agree. That scene was super cute, and I loved that. And I really like watching the progression of these characters in this whole series. Like, from season 1 to the movie, like, you can tell that, Yor is really taking this thing very seriously, even though it is like a marriage of convenience. She really does take it very seriously and wanting to be Anya's mom and wanting to, like, help her and whatever. But also, like, you can see Lloyd just breaking down out of his, like, I'm a spy mentality in this, which I really enjoy. Just seeing him go from, like, this is part of my mission to, you can tell he genuinely loves these people. Like, he likes Yor, he loves Anya, like, he wants to do anything for them. I mean, the second they say something happened to Anya, he's not even worried about this microchip he's supposed to be finding. He's like, sucks to be you, I gotta go find my kid.
Yeah.
And it's not even, he doesn't mention the mission when he's trying to find her. He's not saying, oh, I need to find her for Operation Strix. It's, I need to find my kid. I need to find Anya. She's my top priority right now. And I really like seeing this change in him and like watching him go from like, I don't care about these people to these people are my everything right now. And I really enjoy that like character arc of him like slowly divulging into this and being able to like relax.
It makes me wonder about how this series is eventually going to end. Like, is it gonna run on forever, or are we gonna reach a point to where, like, they all find out each other's identities, and the whole like gimmick behind the show is kind of like gone? What happens next? Is that like gonna end the show there, or?
I really hope that when Operation Strix finishes out, that it's either going to be like okay, now the whole family, like we're all involved in being spies and doing this whole thing together, like a classic 2000s Spy Kids. Like the parents are spies, the kids find out, yeah, they're kind of the ones that are stuck in the situation trying to save their parents, but in the end, they're all spies in the end. Like they all work together and they all do this together and they all like go on these missions in various different ways. Like that's kind of how I'm hoping it ends up being, is like, okay, now down the line, you know, Yor is working with Lloyd, because that would be a fantastic partnership, is two different people who can hold themselves so well, and their daughter who can sense what's coming in a moment's notice. Same with Bond being able to predict everything that's going on. Like it's a great little dynamic. This is a super team. Or realistically, like this is the best case scenario of 4 convenient people that just all end up together. Like I hope in the end it really is, okay, now this is how it's going to go. Like we're all in this together, like we're doing this. And you know, when we watched season 2, you mentioned something about, you know, Anya's going to be the spy and Becky's going to be the assassin.
Because in because in season 2 there's this episode where Becky like she has like a crush on Lloyd, but then she ends up like respecting Yor and wants to be like her and be tough and strong. And so I felt like that was kind of hinting towards like Becky maybe being more of like an apprentice to Yor. That's what I'm really hoping for, is, you know, Anya, like Lloyd lets Anya in and lets her learn how to be a spy and learn how to do all these things. And, you know, we continue to see Becky working as an assassin with Yor. And, you know, I'm really hopeful that we see Damien go down that path at some point. Like, I think he would also be a great character like Lloyd, who can not necessarily pull his emotions out of things sometimes, but can kind of differentiate when he needs to step in and when he doesn't really need to step in. Like I can see him doing that somewhere down the line, of not being super connected to people, but also like able to tell right from wrong, where Anya kind of can't, and being able to like help her through that in a way that kind of like Bond does right now. Like he helps her be like, no, you shouldn't do that. Yes, okay, I think this is fine-ish. Like I think that would be a good dynamic down the line. Yeah.
Not that I've read the manga and know what happens past these 2 seasons and 1 movie, but
I do also wonder if the whole like Stella Star thing, if Anya's actually gonna get the Stella Stars, or if there's gonna be some event that changes things up to where she doesn't need to get those anymore. Because I feel like it's taking a long time for her to get them. Like, did she even get 1 Stella Star in season 2?
No.
Yeah, so
but here's the thing. Damien is in love with her.
True.
Like, she thinks that she needs to be friends with him. She has him wrapped around her finger. Like, genuinely. She just doesn't realize because she's very oblivious.
Yeah.
They very well, if she played her cards right and, like, his 2 little henchmen weren't there all the time and maybe Becky wasn't there, like, this mission could have been over by now.
True. It could have been a wrap already.
It genuinely could, because he does have this he does have this infatuation with her, in just that she is so adorable and sweet and dumb, essentially. Like, that's the best way I can put it, is she's just so herself compared to all the other people that are going to this school, that I think that's what kind of gets it for him, is just that she's not like not she's not like other girls. But she's not. She's very much herself, and she isn't afraid to be weird and silly and fun. Like in season 2, she lies about the cruise she's on, and he doesn't make fun of her for it. He doesn't. He just sits there and he listens, and he just kind of watches her and observes her, and he's like, she's something. Like she's funny. She's her own person. Like she's herself, and you can really see him be like, yeah, no, I admire that, and I wish I could be that. And I think that's part of the reason that he's so, I don't want to say obsessed, but like he's so
like has a crush.
Attached. Yes, like he's so infatuated by her being able to be herself and not an object of her parents or a piece of like a pawn in a game of chess. Like she doesn't have to worry about that the same way like Becky has to eventually be someone who takes over her family's business, and so does he and his brother and their friends. Like I think that's I don't know. I think that's also the part that I wish like Lloyd noticed more of, is like, okay, Damien does like her and see her, he just doesn't show it because of all the other people around.
Yeah.
Because that would make things so much quicker for them. Not that I want it to be quicker and over with, but like, you know?
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
End of rant.
But yeah, I think we're at a point we should probably wrap up this podcast. We're at an hour and a half almost.
Oh wow, that's...
Yeah, Lily's gonna be mad. Sorry.
Sorry.
But yeah, if you enjoyed the podcast episode 5, you're in luck, because next week, as of this recording, which is April 25th, we are recording another episode with a super secret special guest, and this time it's not Mac. So
it's not me.
Yeah, so get ready for that. Shout out to Spy Family. Shout out to the Spy Family movie. Shout out to Anya. And anything else you want to say?
Look at my cool card I got from the movies when I went and saw it.
I didn't get a card. Why didn't I get a card? Okay.
I literally gave him my ticket, and I was like, because over the speakers, they were like, hey, I know it says there's 2 tickets bought for the Spy Family movie, but it's just one person. I accidentally put 2 tickets down. Like, I gotta fix it. So if anybody else comes up for Spy Family, there's any seats available except one of them. Like, it's only one. And I was like, yeah, I'm like your one Spy Family person here. And he's like, do you want this card? I was like, yes, I do. Thank you.
Well,
so cute.
That's a wrap. Episode 5. Bye.